And with that, I'm happy to introduce you to Keely Cat-Wells, founder and CEO of Making Space, for today's webinar, Making Space for Disabled Creatives. Keely, we turn it over to you.
Thank you so much. Hi, everyone. It is wonderful to be here with you. I am going to share my screen. Would the host mind giving me those capabilities? Thank you.
You should be able to share now, Keely.
Awesome. Thank you so much. So first and foremost, happy last day of Disability Pride Month. I hope everyone has had a wonderful July. And thank you again for having me. So as a quick intro, my name is Keely and I'm the CEO and founder of Making Space, and a bit of my disability journey. So starting a business was never the plan. I originally actually wanted to be a dancer. And when I was 16, I ended up getting into a prestigious dance academy in London. I was determined to be a dancer. It was my entire life, my goal, my dream. But when I started my training, I ended up getting unwell. And I proceeded to spend about 4 years in hospital. I was misdiagnosed, undiagnosed. I went through many years of a lot of medical malpractice, and I came out the other end as a disabled person. And I realized very quickly that the world was no longer built with me in mind. I would constantly be told that I didn't look disabled. And when I needed a seat on the bus, I would be told that I was taking advantage of the system. And I was just really relearning, I think, how to live in this new world that I was thrown into. So I wanted a fresh start. I ended up going out to LA, and I wanted to get a job within the entertainment industry. I wanted to find my way back into a world that I was so incredibly passionate about. I couldn't dance, but I could maybe do some other things within that same creative world. So I ended up getting a job within the entertainment industry. But after disclosing my disabilities and asking for reasonable accommodations, I was quickly told that I could no longer have that job, and I lost that job due to disability discrimination. It was only when I shared that experience with others in the disabled community that I realized my story was not special. This was happening all the time, and it's kind of been normalized. It's so frustrating, infuriating, and that really led to the creation of my first company. So my first company was called Sea Talent. And I called it Sea Talent because as disabled people, we usually don't get access to option A or option B, and we have to create our own option C. Sea Talent was a talent agency that represented disabled actors, writers, directors, content creators, and really focused on increasing disability representation within film, TV, and media. We worked on some really awesome projects, including The Last of Us on HBO, many shows on Disney Plus, some really cool things on Netflix. We represented amazing content creators such as Cole and Charisma, and there's too many to mention. So we grew quickly, ended up being acquired by a marketing firm back in 2022. And then I left last year to form my next company, which is Making Space. And before diving into a bit more about Making Space, I'd love to get an idea of what you think the current landscape of representation looks like of disabled people on screen. So a quick poll, and feel free to respond in any way that's most accessible for you, whether that is coming off mute, putting the answer in the chat, raising your hand, whatever is best for you. So the question is, what percentage of characters on screen are portrayed as having a disability? A, 1%, B, 3.1%, or C, 15%? I love it. So many answers. Thank you. Got lots of B's, lots of A's. Amazing. Thank you for participating. Lots of A's. So the correct answer is B, 3.1%. But I would say that with a caveat, because it is worth noting that that doesn't mean it is accurate representation. That is all representation of any character who is portrayed as being disabled on screen. It is thought that 95% of all characters on screen who are disabled are actually played by non-disabled people, portraying disabled people. So it is much less than what we think it is. Beyond employment on screen, more generally, disabled people are twice more likely to be unemployed than non-disabled people, and this is far, far worse for those with intersectional identities. So with all we achieved at C Talent, it became very clear that corporations hold so much power and we're able to change that, especially if we use that power in coordination with policy. We can really accelerate that change. I also realized that anytime we did anything that was impact driven, we are often deprioritized as soon as budgets got cut. So with my next company, with Making Space, I wanted to build a solution that acts as a Trojan horse that helps companies save money on their biggest yearly losses around recruitment, retention, turnover, whilst ensuring that disabled people are getting access to long-term, meaningful employment opportunities and can create really the careers of their dreams. So since the acquisition, I founded Making Space. We are a talent acquisition and learning platform for companies to train, access, and retain pre-qualified disabled talent. And whilst we do have a heavy focus on the creative industries, our solution is industry agnostic and can be used in a really wide range of sectors. Our goal at Making Space is to create meaningful careers for disabled people and provide the necessary resources for them to become influential leaders. Our platform bridges the education employment gap by offering accessible, job-specific training and putting skill-based education as a part of the hiring process. And again, we have a really big passion for the creative industries, and that is today's focus of this presentation, but we are also industry agnostic. When I first moved to LA and I was looking at the job market and the landscape of what was out there, I realized very quickly that most creative roles and a lot of industries tend to prioritize stamina over talent for a lot of entry role positions. Roles like PA or those, as I mentioned, entry role positions, they often have essential criteria which lists having to lift a certain amount of weight or drive a car. There is this continuous emphasis on long, enduring hours, which undermines the recognition of genuine skill. Other roles would mention the necessary requirement for prior experience that I felt like I couldn't get because I couldn't go into those stamina-heavy roles. And this has also really shaped the work that we're doing at Making Space. We want to create new pathways to employment and ensure disabled people are getting access to high-wage, high-quality work and help employers tap into overlooked and underrepresented talent pools. So the way that we work is we create that skill-based and job-specific education and provide that at scale. That education generates pipelines of pre-qualified candidates, bringing highly competitive learning and career opportunities to the disabled community and dovetailing that with educational resources and with open roles in an accessible format. In addition, disability aside, we were noticing that traditional education systems often struggle to keep up with the evolving workforce demands. So at Making Space, we are seizing this opportunity. I think it's a really unique opportunity to be able to support this historically overlooked population and help employers find talent with the skills that are meeting today's requirements with that workforce. So success for us really looks like a comprehensive change in the perception and employment of disabled people. And we really aim to create visible disabled role models in leadership positions because as I think we all know, when we have more disabled leaders, change can happen much, much quicker. And while our primary use case is using education to pre-qualify disabled candidates for open roles, people can also utilize our platform to host accessible education along with quizzes, assignments for career advancement, career mobility opportunities, and internal training. We also provide clear leadership pathways for disabled employees, ensuring for transparent career progression opportunities. And one of our values is accessibility beyond basic compliance. I found it really interesting when we were building this platform and looking at other learning platforms out there. And we found that no major learning management system comes with a built-in feature to toggle sign language on and off. So, as many of us know, while captions provide a text representation of spoken content, they are not an adequate substitution for sign language. And in addition, I think it's 98% of the current web is still inaccessible to many disabled people. So we are really passionate about building technology that can be really not just utilized, but really embraced and used to its best of its ability for the disabled community. It's really interesting as well. 67% of disabled job seekers reported that skill-based hiring practices led to better job matches and greater career satisfaction within their roles, within their career. And that's the approach that we are taking at Making Space. That's why we are creating skills-based, job-specific education, providing that at scale, generating these pipelines of pre-qualified candidates, and enabling employers to make more informed hiring decisions. So, what pathways exist within the creative industries? The creative industries can often seem very elusive and exclusive, I think. Many people also perceive a career in the creative industries as roles that are limited to, say, screenwriting, directing, or producing. However, it's so much more expansive than we initially think. The creative sector encompasses a huge array of different career pathways and avenues to go down. In LA alone, the creative economy spans 12 different sectors and includes 76 distinct occupations. And these roles can range from graphic designers working within real estate companies to marketing directors and software developers in creative industries. So creative careers are not just confined to artistic pursuits alone. There's also all of these different innovative positions and avenues that one can go down. I think it's also really cool that there are more and more roles that give that flexibility for either remote work, there's in-person work, full-time, part-time, and I think there's a lot of opportunity to really tailor the career path within the creative industries for personal and professional needs. So as mentioned, there are so many different options from working within a creative specific company within roles like production accounting, or there's roles that are creative within non-creative specific companies. We've, at Making Space, been able to do some work around satellite engineering, helping people get roles as analysts, scheduling coordinators, key artists, and countless others. The charity and medical models of disability often play out within the film, TV, and media that we watch, and they often enforce really harmful and negative attitudes, and these play out in the workforce. On screen, we're often depicted as either the villains, victims, or inspirations. Some of these examples include James Bond villains, where our disabilities are used as horror props, for example. We're often depicted as being evil or sinister because we're so mad at the world, and this leads to a lot of fear and discrimination. And then we're also depicted as victims. We're often seen as helpless or dependent on non-disabled people for our survival, which reinforces this charity model of disability. And then we are also portrayed as inspirational, often when we have done nothing to justify the inspiration. And we're often objectified and used to make non-disabled people feel better about their lives. But when we escape these incorrect stereotypes and actually embrace and reframe our lived experience, we can truly value the natural human diversity. And I wanted to draw your attention to a really cool and important overlap between the two sets of skills that are often unappreciated and not shared. And I've recognized these within my own personal journey. Also, as an entrepreneur, I've seen how many skills that I receive and have got as a disabled overlap. Again, as a disabled person, having to navigate an inaccessible society, we have this inherent ability to adapt, which the creative industry values enormously because it is such a fast-paced, ever-changing industry and demands so much adaptability. I also realized personally, one of my lived experiences as a disabled person was constantly having to manage a medical team. And that really helped me manage my own team at work. So there is so much overlap, and the creative industries could really benefit from more disabled people being in so many different and additional positions. The other piece is disclosure and self-ID. 61% of disabled employees do not disclose disabilities at work, which is also leading to high turnover, stagnant career growth, and a significant loss of very valuable talent. Many of us fear that our accommodations will be denied, that our needs won't be believed, and of course, that fear of discrimination, judgment. The pandemic, I think, highlighted these biases when remote work, which has been long demanded by disabled people, that remote work was only widely implemented when non-disabled people needed it. This really showcases the deep-seated bias around disability and the lack of disabled people in leadership and decision-making roles. So at Making Space, to really work with that idea that we have so many transferable skills and to try and really change the narrative around disability, we've developed a tool that is embedded within a candidate's profile that they can choose to use if they would like. They don't have to, but it's a tool that turns our lived experience of disability into transferable skills. In addition, it also creates personalized career pathways on Making Space. So we really want to normalize disabled people being experts in subjects beyond just disability. And we can do this on screen and in real life. On screen, some of the things that I want to see is the amputee who has just finished surgery, except they are the surgeon, not the patient. A wheelchair user who watches backstage as non-disabled models strut down the walkway because it is their turn to own the spotlight and roll down the catwalk. The character with CP who receives a round of applause when getting up on stage, but it's because they are receiving a Nobel Prize. And off screen, we want to see disabled people in every department within a company, on the board, within C-suite, and beyond. We also want to normalize access requirements and not assuming what disabled people can or cannot do, and not just placing disabled people within disability-related work and not prioritizing stamina over talent. At Making Space, we also really believe in using the term access requirements. Personally, as someone who has had to ask and has to ask for accommodations, I often feel like I'm a burden when I'm doing so. And by simply reframing accommodations as access requirements, that they are necessary, I think that can sometimes help ensure we get what we need to be able to do the best work. At Making Space, we recently collaborated with Netflix. We created a course that enabled disabled candidates to gain skills and a competitive advantage that aligned directly with Netflix's need. So this approach created a pipeline of pre-qualified candidates. It also democratized free and accessible education, and it presented an opportunity to learn new skills, become more competitive within that talent pool, and apply for maybe a higher wage role and a higher quality job than previously available. It also enabled disabled people to get to know more about the employer, and it created that new pathway to employment at that company. We also saw that it created better outcomes for the employer. It helped them find higher quality hires at a faster rate, and it increased their retention rate as well. So it's a win-win solution. And this course is currently available on Making Space. Disabled talent can sign up and it is completely free. You can complete the course. You can choose if you want to be visible to the employer and considered for employment at Netflix if you would like or not. But it is available. So I highly recommend anyone interested sign up and check it out. We also create a very clear return on investment for employers and aim to really level the playing field for disabled people. In addition, helping disabled people be productive on day one of employment and giving a head start to disabled people and setting them up for success. On the talent side, we saw that many disabled self-taught graphic designers took this course and were able to bridge very specific knowledge and skill gaps and also align their capabilities with industry standards. Some of the disabled talent had had experience working within graphic design, but in other industries like the travel industry or the tech industry, but had never specifically worked within the creative world before. So Making Space was able to provide them that insight and also experience, again, at no cost. Making Space will never, ever be, will never charge the disabled talent. It will always be free to them. And for the disabled talent as well, they were able to learn more about the company's accommodation offerings. And they were also able to add to their portfolio if they chose to complete the associated assignment. That was often a supplement if they didn't have the prior experience, which was mentioned in the job description. So we really want to move away from stereotypes and into the nuanced, thriving, complicated, and evolving disability culture. We want to ensure that disability pride is recognized and celebrated with authenticity from the disabled person's perspective and enable disabled people to bring their whole selves to work, and both in front and behind the camera in all roles. So we really encourage employers to invest in disability and accessibility training for their own recruiters, hiring managers, and teams, and for employers to really leverage the tools that have been created to create a more accessible future of work, and to factor accessibility into all budgets. And most importantly, I think, to place disabled people into decision-making positions. We recently had some great success working with NBCUniversal, a partnership which was set out to increase the employment of disabled people both in front and behind the camera for NBC Sports' coverage of its portfolio of sports properties and events. Making Space and NBC Sports created a free and accessible course on Making Space, which developed a pre-qualified pipeline of disabled talent and allowed NBC to access this untapped and underrepresented workforce. It also paved the way for a historic increase in disability representation at one of the world's most recognizable media companies. Specifically, we worked on the broadcasting of the Olympics and Paralympics in Paris. The Olympics, which are currently happening, talent from the pipeline did get hired, and they are being heavily featured within the groundbreaking coverage of both the Olympics and the Paralympics. And we actually even made history, getting the first ever disabled hosts within those roles for the Paralympics, and having the first ever disabled hosts covering both the Olympics and Paralympics, which is very exciting. And now we really have our eye to LA28 and ensuring that disabled people in these roles are also able to cover content like sport, news roles and other journalistic opportunities outside of just, again, disability specific work. So for talent, you can sign up, create a profile, again, completely free, enroll in courses and education that you are interested in, choose if you want to be considered for employment opportunities. You can also connect with your community members in the comments and build various different networks. And you can keep an eye out for opportunities that we are consistently posting on Instagram and on social media. And then for employers, we would love to schedule some demos, showcase our capabilities, and we'd love to start making space with you. And the other group of people that we would love to open our doors to are also educators. Anyone who is a leader within their field, who has training maybe already existing, and would like a accessible platform to host that on, then we would also love to hear from you, and we'd love to host a course by you on our platform as well. So I think I whizzed through that, but I'm really excited to go through a Q&A and answer any questions that anyone has.
Wonderful. Thanks so much, Keely. That was brilliant. One of the comments in the chat is what a wonderful business model. Okay, I'm going to go back through. There were a couple of things that were related to what you were talking about at the time. So I'm not sure whether or not I'm going to be able to remember what were you talking about at that moment. But one of the questions, and I think this was when you were speaking about representation in the early part, someone said, what about people who are marginalized, for example, short people or functionally autistic?
Absolutely. So our platform is available to all disabled people, anyone who even also may not self-identify just yet. Disability is such a broad community. It's a spectrum. It is so vast. We really encourage anyone who may not even know if they're disabled or not. I think we often see that the definition of disability is confusing. I never used to identify as disabled. I was like, no, I'm just chronically ill. I'm not disabled. And then I realized that, wow, yes, the disabled community embraces just such a broad array. So yes, we absolutely want to cater to everyone within the community.
Definitely. Okay, and then you were talking about the creative arts, and I think this is more of a comment perhaps than a question, but what about the visual arts and creative writing publishers that will publish authors with disabilities?
It's such a big need, and we've not done anything yet. We've got a screenwriting course on Making Space, but nothing specific to publishing or books just yet. We would absolutely love to. I should have mentioned as well, some of the work that we're doing at Making Space is more so on the media side. So we have two sides to our business. We have the tech side, Making Space, which I primarily focused on today. And then we also have Making Space Media. Making Space Media is a unscripted production company, and we create documentaries to tell the untold stories of disabled people and center the voices of disabled people. And that company has a first look deal with Hello Sunshine, which is Reese Witherspoon's company. And they have Reese's book club. So we're really hoping that we can get more into the publishing side and do some work around that as well.
That sounds wonderful. couple of people have asked about the slides. Lexi did put it in there, but just to reiterate, they will be available within the next couple of weeks. We'll send out accessible versions of the slides and links to the recording. Let's see. This was more of a comment. This was when you were talking about COVID and how folks were, doing remote work, and it just came about because everyone needed to be home. But then there's a comment here, and then it was retracted again when it was no longer needed. And that is true. I know some companies did make everybody come back. Some never have. And I think one of the big things that I've heard a lot is the realization that work can be done remotely. Whereas I think before COVID, people didn't think that could be possible. But okay, is it possible that the term access requirements is aligned with an organization's sense of liability and burden of control transferred to the organization subject to threat of legal repercussions? So I guess I'm reading that like, are you thinking that access requirements might sound burdensome and like there may be some legal repercussions? And if I'm not getting that right, Lisa, who asked it, please clarify in there exactly what your question is.
Yeah, thank you for the question. So I definitely want to just disclaimer, I don't know all the ins and outs of the legalese and the legal system and how it could be it could be used, and I'm not sure. I think it's certainly something that we have to consider and be so cognitive of. Obviously, reasonable accommodations is the legal term. So I'm not sure. We encourage the use of access requirements where possible, but always check, I think, with the company, with your employer, and with the people that you're working with.
Someone's asked, how would you be able to join as a person with a disability? I know you said that anybody can sign up. I don't know if you want to go into more detail on that.
Yeah, absolutely. Yes, anyone can sign up. It's a pretty simple sign up process. So you just go onto our website. I think it says sign up or sign in. You would be able to create a basic profile. It will just ask for some things like full name, email address. It will give you the option to fill out a bio and upload a headshot. Those are optional. You'll also have the option to fill out a self-ID form. You don't have to identify as disabled to be able to leverage the platform. And then you should be able to get started and choose which courses you want to go through, again, which opportunities you may want to apply for, and so forth.
Wonderful. Is this only geared toward the entertainment industry?
No, so we are industry agnostic. We are looking at various different sectors and opportunities. I would say there is probably more creative opportunities on the platform than there are not at the moment, but there will be more from other industries coming soon as well.
And how, Keely, are people connected with the employers? You said you can make yourself visible or not. So are employers going in on the other side and looking at the talent? So how is that connection happening?
Yes. So employers, they have their own login. They're able to see all of the people who have completed their specific elements of education that they've uploaded. If the employer added quizzes or assignments to the courses, they're able to see all of the individuals who have completed those. We also want to make it really easy and simple for employers to be able to access this talent that comes through Making Space. So we also integrate with applicant tracking systems such as Greenhouse to try and make it as simple as possible.
And the next question is, how is Making Space funded?
So we are a for-profit company. We make money by selling into large corporations. We are also a venture-backed company. So we have some really awesome investors who are really aligned with what we're building. But we are, venture-backed. So we've got impact investors, as well as I say, making money from the corporations that we sell into.
Great. And we've got somebody here who said that they would love to know more about what you want from educators and how can how that can include disabled education. How can we reach out to you to learn more?
Yes, I love that question. Thank you. So we're really passionate about finding disabled educators specifically. We really want to create a network of disabled role models, disabled subject matter experts in various different worlds of expertise, and have them teach courses on making space, and also to be able to benefit and even make passive income using making space by selling their courses to employers. So for more information, I'll share, and is it possible after this, I'll share an email address to
Yeah,
send
absolutely.
inquiries? Okay, so I'll do that
Yeah.
afterwards. And then yeah, definitely please do get in touch. We'd love to chat.
Okay. And then I think you really already addressed this, but is talent training limited to graphic design or creative jobs, for example, green jobs and ecotourism jobs? You've
Uh,
said you're already going to expand industries, but
Yes, expanding, so not limited to graphic design or creative. Yeah, expanding pretty quickly. We've got a new partnership that we recently announced with Indeed. And that partnership is going to be focused on any roles that require the use of AI. So it's going to be pretty expansive, but that's one to look out for soon. But yeah, travel and tourism is one that we're excited about and doing a lot of work around on the making space media side. We recently released a documentary all about accessible transportation, the work that needs to be done. And we're also looking at how we can get disabled people into a lot of those roles within that industry.
that sounds amazing. Is there a list of the classes or trainings available? I'm guessing when you go online and sign up, you can see that, but
Yes, absolutely. And one thing to mention when you sign up, some of the companies who have provided the education, there's some proprietary information within those classes. So with some of the courses, you'll just have to fill out an NDA prior to completing the class. But we try and make that really simple and streamlined on the platform, and you can do that all through, or when you log in and through the platform.
okay. Someone else says, I'm an acrylic painting drawing artist. Is this also for me?
I would say maybe. I think go on the platform, maybe explore some of the opportunities in classes. It sounds like you would have a lot of transferable skills from your work within art to, say, roles like graphic design. So yeah, maybe I think check it out and explore.
Is Making Space primarily used by people in California? And does Making Space assist with job placement, sort of like a placement agency?
So we are pretty global. We don't have a specific kind of focus on California. We do have some roles which are in California, but we're pretty global. The platform does have localization and translation. We're even working with some companies in Germany, so pretty all over the place. We do not work like a placement agency. We don't charge companies when they hire individuals from the platform. We just sell subscriptions to the platform because we want to make it really easy and also scalable for companies. So we don't represent any individuals. We really are there to just kind of facilitate the process of getting people into the right places, if that makes sense, but not a placement agency.
And what about disabled piano teachers? Do they count?
I mean, who knows? Maybe I think a course on piano could be really interesting.
Definitely could be. Let's see. Just a comment that it is important to educate people to prevent ignorance. Someone else says that they are an individual with CP and a licensed financial educator. So maybe that's somebody that's interested in connecting with you. Does MS operate virtually only? So, does Making Space operate virtually only?
Yes. So all the training education is all provided on demand and all through the platform virtually. Yes.
Okay. And you had mentioned, a lot of different positions, not just stamina, about talent, but the question here is, can disabled workers who can only work short hours and need to be flexible, would they be a good fit?
Yeah, so we like to have a wide array of different roles and opportunities on Making Space. We're consistently trying to connect with as many different employers as possible to provide that kind of diversity of roles. So I would say just keep an eye out for the various different opportunities listed on Making Space. So hopefully there'll be ones that may be a good fit.
I think this might be from the sort of performance perspective, but somebody said that we need more romantic stories portraying folks with disabilities, disabled married stories too. So I guess, that is true of the media, isn't it? There's not a lot of sort of love story, romantic marriage programs that do highlight people with disabilities.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I can't wait to see more disabled love interests featured, definitely.
Yeah, sounds good. Just a reminder, pop your questions in the chat. If you do need ASL to ask your question, then just raise your hand, let us know. We can bring you on camera if you need that. But I don't see any other questions. I think I got them all, Keely.
Amazing. Well, thank you all so much for the great questions. And it's so exciting to see hopefully a lot of interest, and can't wait to connect with you all.
Oh, wait a minute. We do have another one. Can you speak to behind the camera employment for people with disabilities?
Yeah, absolutely. It's definitely not. There is not enough. There is not even a lot of data to tell us how many disabled people are currently working behind the camera. I don't think there's been any research done around it. I don't know if that's fully accurate, but I don't know of any. But yeah, we definitely need more representation behind the camera and also more data to support that. And I think specifically within the creative and entertainment industries, it's really sad that stigma, I think, is heightened. We see so many people who hide their disabilities and do everything they possibly can to not disclose, which limits, obviously, as we know, the getting accommodations and making things more accessible for everyone. So yeah, data needed, more representation needed.
I think that's true in general about disability. So much more data is needed, but so much of it too is that sort of fear of disclosure. So even when there is data, it might not be completely accurate. Are your employers educated about tax incentives offered by the government?
We don't do education around that specifically. I think it's certainly a need. The education that we provide to employers specifically is mainly for hiring managers and recruiters about how to better support disabled applicants and candidates, and create more inclusive hiring processes, but have not done anything around tax incentives.
Okay, great. See, we're getting more and more questions now, Keely. How does this program help people with mental disabilities? I mean, it doesn't matter what kind of disability you have, right? It's open to everybody.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Open to everyone. And we're also always open to feedback on how we can better support specific groups of people from the community as well. So the best contact would be support@makingspace.com, which is where we always monitor for feedback and improvements. And we always want to hear from our members on how we can do better.
And there's a comment that the tax credits would be a great incentive. Someone else is asking, would any of the companies be interested in sponsoring something like a podcast, or is it only for actually going to work and being employed by them?
So for the Making Space platform, I don't think we'd be able to facilitate like connections for sponsorships. The platform is really primarily used for that education that leads to employment.
Right. Okay, they're coming in so fast now, it's going up so quickly. Um, oh, your logo, just curious, any significance, because it looks like orange tape.
I love that. Yes, so a few different reasons. One of which was I remember when I first joined the industry, and it was really interesting to see how when you need to hit your mark on set, that mark is often marked by tape. And also as a disabled person, I am constantly holding my mobility aids and medical equipment together with tape. So I thought the two correlated pretty well. And also, we're just all about making your mark and making space. So we thought tape could be a good representation of how one simple action can lead to making a difference.
I love that. This is a comment. Great work, Keely. Thank you for making space and for raising the curtain to our talented disability community.
Thank you so much. I'm right back at you, Lisa. Thank you.
Do you have connections to Social Security, Ticket to Work, etc.? Might be nice to be separate.
We have not done work with them. Would love to explore opportunities.
And somebody did put the Ticket to Work website in there. And someone else said, I think it's a great thing that you're doing.
Thank you. That means a lot. Thank you so much.
So I think we're done with questions unless we get any more coming in. So in the meantime, just remember that National Disability Institute is here also to support the disability community. Our particular work is around entrepreneurship and self-employment. So obviously making space is going to work for an employer, but if you are interested in self-employment, then we're also here to support that. Some upcoming events, evaluating your idea before it's too late, the job to be done way. I think it looks like something's missing from there. That doesn't make sense, that sentence, but maybe it's just my mind today. That's our next webinar coming up on August the 7th. And that really is looking at, if you have a concept for a small business, how do you really look at that concept, determine if it really is a good idea before you invest a lot of time, funding, energy into it. So if you're at those early stages, or you know anybody that is, or you work with folks that are, this would be a great one to sign up for. And that's coming up on August the 7th from 2 to 3:30 Eastern time. And the link to it is in the chat. And Keely did also put her LinkedIn in the chat. So if anybody's interested in connecting through LinkedIn with Keely, then that is there for you. So also we have a really robust website. Again, if you're looking at starting, building, or growing a business, lots of resources, also signing up there for any of our webinars coming up. You can also sign up for our monthly newsletter. And so disabilitysmallbusiness.org is the email for that. We also have our toes a little bit in the entertainment industry, because we do have a streaming TV channel that is informational and motivational. And you can go check that out. There are folks that have started businesses that are disability owned that talk about their journey and their success and their challenges. And then there's also a lot of educational content on there as well. So disabilityowned.com, also available on Apple TV, Roku, if you have those things. And then we do also have a partnership with Verizon. Verizon has created a platform for support for small businesses. They have some live events, they have recorded trainings, and they also have some mentorship available. And then if you do sign up and you complete 2 activities in there, the system will open up the availability to you when they have grants available, and they have some $10,000 grants. So the link to that also will be in the chat, I'm sure, here. Yep, already there. I had to scroll down to see it. And so anyway, just reminder, join our mailing list if you want to stay in the know on all the things that are going on at NDI with our small business team. And I will just, and here we all are, here's everybody. Ruth, Caroline, Lexi. Lexi's behind the scenes. She's responsible for keeping everything going here for us today. And let's have a look if I had any other questions, because I saw some other things going into the chat. Oh, someone mentioned they're a certified work incentive practitioner and a vendor for Ticket to Work. Thanks for a great speaker. I definitely want to be, we'll contact you. Yep. All right, can I watch again? Yes, absolutely. You can see this again. Once you're registered, you can watch the recording again. The recording will be up within the next couple of weeks. So you'll be able to access that because you did register for it. And if you know anyone else that wants to register, it's once the recording's up, anybody can come in and watch the recording. And so with that, I think that is it from us anyway. So thanks again, Keely. It's wonderful. And just as an aside, since we have a couple of minutes, this is Keely's third presentation today. So I'm thinking she's probably ready to just go sit down, have a cup of tea, and relax for the rest of the day.
I appreciate you. Thank you so much for having me. Thank you.
All right. And thanks to our interpreters. Bye, everyone.
Bye. Thank you.